right, here we go. Let's grade this. Let's see what you got. I'm excited for this.
So, have you thought at all about which way to go? I
So it's going to be interesting what you feed her back here. You're letting her go a long time. So she's not making it easy on you because she's not pausing to breathe in her presentation of all this. And so she's making it really difficult for you to find the opportunity to kind of steer her away from the sustained talk to the change talk, because she started off with, I used to run 6 miles a day, I was feeling great, and then she went on a 2-minute rant about all the reasons why that fell apart. Then she gave us another little piece about why I bought a treadmill. So she's doing some things that are moving her forward again, but she's not pausing to give you the opportunity to feed that to her. So sometimes we just have to, with our body language and our position and stuff, just kind of reach in and say, so what I hear you saying is, and feed that back to her. Let's see when you get the opportunity to do this with her. You got to jump in there. All right, here's your chance. Good. Good. So I would have flipped that. So I would have said, right now you're in a space right now where you're wondering how you're going to get going again. So we acknowledge that. But then I would have said, you have a lot of positive things that you're doing. And I also would have made sure to bring back in the fact that she went on a 4-mile walk with her sister, right? That's a pretty substantial thing, right? So even though she's not using her treadmill, And she's done some positive things, so we want to give that back to her. So again, the order, the sequence which you give feedback is really important. So that's just a minor tweak for that. Sustain talk. We got a breaker. We got to intervene. Support that right there. Support it. So a better question at this point right here. So she's motivated to make this change. So she's really not really ambivalent about should I do this or shouldn't I do this. She's saying I should do this, but I have these other barriers, and my barrier is time. So the better question to ask in this particular situation was, what did it look like when you were jogging 6 miles a day or a week or however long it was? Because she's already motivated, so it's not about taking her back and having her remember how good she felt and athletic she felt. It's about what was the structure she had in place when she was jogging routinely. Because right now the barrier she's putting up is time. I got school, I got kids, I got family. So again, just making sure we're asking the right question at the right time is really important. All right, so let's continue. So again, so we're still focused on motivation to do the activity. So I don't see the struggle with Pam as being the motivation to do it. She's saying, I want to do this. I remember how great it felt. Again, it's about taking her back, and this is an activity she's done successfully in the past. So she's kind of got some low hanging fruit for us to start. We don't want to prematurely start planning, but we want to start getting her to start verbalizing the things like, yeah, when I used to jog all the time, my husband used to help with the kids, and I guess I've taken on more of that role since I've been injured and been around more. So what would it look like if he started taking on more of that role again? And so her motivation, I mean, she's absolutely in kind of the stage of change mode right now. And so it's about, we can move quickly to planning. We want to build the rapport. We don't want to move too quickly, but we also don't want to have her sit there and dwell on like all the reasons she's not doing what she wants to do. We want to, get her talking about, yeah, this is what I did and this is how I did it. And then eventually we're going to be like, well, what would that look like if you were to try to do that today or next week? So what do you... See? So she really, really wants us to grab onto the next step of this process. I don't even think she realizes it, because she is motivated to do this. It's just, how am I going to do this? So now she's sharing with us without us asking how she got into it before. Now she got there on her own, and we could have got her there 4 minutes ago by asking this question and explored this Couch to 5K, what the process was. And so we're getting there, but we're getting there because she's taken us there versus us being kind of leading down the path, right? Again, as I've said this before, we kind of lean in. We have a motivation of what we're trying to get done. And so this could have went the opposite way. She could have just got stuck on like, yeah, I should jog. I really feel good when I jog, and we could have never got here. But because of where she is in her motivation to really start this, she kind of got us there with her taking us there instead of us helping her lead us there. So let's continue. That's important to her. You need to feed that back. So, missed opportunity right there. So you could have upheld her her belief system around you're never too old to do exercise. Exercise is good for you regardless of what age or how you get into it. So that belief, you could have really upheld that belief for her, but instead you didn't catch on to that and you went right to another question. And so again, it's about taking our time and pausing with our clients to think about, okay, what's the most appropriate thing to say right now? I'm sure this question you're about to ask is absolutely an appropriate question, but when we don't acknowledge the motivation behind what drives our client, sometimes we can lose our client. I don't think we're going to do that with Pam because she's super motivated to get this going. So let's see where this goes. So how do we change this excuse of our sustained talk into an opportunity, right? What things can she put into place at this transition point? So we want to listen really carefully. You know, we want to hear what the new job's really about and all that, but we don't want it to be a reason for sustained talk to keep the status quo. So let's see what she does. Tell me more about that plan. So good reflection, but again, we could have really pulled out more detail. See, what you asked right there is a great question, right? Because we intrinsically want to know whether this change is going to create more barriers, which is going to give her more excuses to stop. But the way you asked it just now is going to give her the opportunity, if she's the type of client, to say, oh yeah, you know, my hours changed, la-di-da-di-da. We could go down a whole road of, again, a 3-minute spiel about how this is going to be a barrier. And so we need to tweak the question and say, what are the opportunities for you to do this, right? And get her thinking about the positive things that could happen from the change. She still may take us down a negative road, but by asking the opportunities versus the barriers, we're more likely to get the positive things that we can then build a plan on. Good. Good, good, good. Very good. Good. So, but it's not a lot to you. So it's just, that sounds like it could be a lot, right? And then let her either adopt that, like, yeah, it's a lot, or, oh, no, not really. I'm always juggling all this stuff, right? So remember, whenever we give reflections, we never make it about us. So, and I know why you did what you did. It's really simple to do, but just take the me out of it. Just say, it sounds like a lot. And let her either decide to accept or reject that, because that lets us know where she is. So careful, don't take her back down the sustained talk road, right? We just did a great summary with all the positive things, and we want to be really careful when we talk about the job change and all that, and to bring in more sustained talk out. Good. What would that look like? So, great thing to explore with her, but may not be necessary to explore with her, right? Because, again, Pam's creating a unique client presentation for us because she's coming down and sitting in front of us and saying, I used to be a runner. I really want to run. I'm excited to run again. I know I have all the knowledge about why I need to run. It made me feel really good. So again, really her barrier is, well, why aren't you running, right? And so, so we have another opportunity here to just simply say, if you were to use the treadmill, what would that look like? Or if you were to, start walking more to build up to running again, what would that look like, right? So for her, and I don't know if you're a little gun shy because of, we talked about don't premature plan, in our class. If the client's ready, the client's ready. And so we don't want to sit there and hover just because the client's not ready. And so the majority of this video could really have been about, like, what is her plan? What are the barriers to her plan? And the ambivalence about those barriers. Because I'm guessing when we peel that onion back, the real barrier we need to get over is her graduate school commitments and her work and family commitments, right? It probably has nothing to do with running, right? So it doesn't matter whether she likes to run indoors or outdoors. It matters, can she prioritize these other commitments that she has in her life to bring this commitment of running forward, because she's really committed to it. It's just she has other things that she feels are in front of it. And are they legitimately in front of it? Can they be moved? And so that's really where the ambivalence is with her. It's not about, do I want to run indoors, outdoors? Does running make me feel good or bad? And it's not to say you're doing a great job. I love your body position. I love your eye contact. I love how calm you are through all this. I love your reflections. And so you're doing a great job. I'm just giving you feedback on kind of the nuances that we need to pick up on when we do these interviews so that we're focused on the right thing. So let's continue. So you feel guilty at times. Very good. So finish your scale. So even though she's a 9, we still can use a scaling question, right? So tell me why you're not a 7, right? That way we can reiterate all the reasons why she's not a 7, why she's not a 7, right? I'm really ready to do this. I remember how good I felt. I remember. So what it's going to take you to go from a 9 to a 10, right? And so that can be a little bit scary when we're way up there at 10, but she put herself on a 9 for motivation, so she's highly motivated, right? And so a 10 might just be, well, what's going to make me a 10 is I'm actually doing it, right? And that's okay. So always finish your scaling question. Don't just throw it out there and let it hang. So that could have backfired on you. So you asked, what are the barriers to you doing this? And she could have went on a rant about all the barriers to her doing this. So flip the question. What are the supports that are going to make sure this happens for you? Right? Just a simple flip of the question. So she flipped the question for you by saying, well, honestly, there's nothing that I can't overcome. I know I just need to do this. But she could have went the other direction on you. So there's another important value you could have given her back to her is, being present for your family and others is a really important value to you, right? Because that supports the need for her to do self-care, which is her running. Very good. Very good. So at the end there, she said, I just need to do this. So we have an opportunity to get commitment. So when we meet in a week or 2 weeks, whatever, we potentially meet again. How many times do you want to have had gone for a long walk or a run? Right? And that way we can kind of get that commitment to others. So I'd agree with that. So Pam presented as the type of client that, because of her readiness for change and her motivation to do this, she really just needed somebody like you that was just going to be a good listener to let her process, which you did a great job. You could have totally ruined this if, like you said in the beginning, you would have just been really directive about it and say, well, here's what you need to do to get back on this, right? Because part of what she needed to do, because of where she was for her readiness to change, was, I need to process this, and you were really just a sounding board for that, so you did a great job with that. So I think you're thinking about the same thing that I pointed out to you when you did that, about asking that question versus giving the reflection. Now, remember, the rule with reflections is we don't want to reflect so much that they lose their power. Um, I personally, again, would have probably given a reflection there, but I'm glad that you were thinking about, and then you caught yourself thinking about, is this appropriate for reflection or is it appropriate for a question? And that just comes with times and practice. And so I always lean to giving a reflection and then the question, right? We're still going to ask her a question. That's fine to do. But the reflection is really important as well. I'd agree with that. I don't think you gave superficial praise. You did a good job with that. That's true. All right, so great job. You know, minor tweaks that I want you to, and again, it's about just learning to listen in with your ear and thinking about how am I going to get more change talk versus sustain talk. And with her, Pam was a unique client because really we could have went to kind of the planning stage and the barriers to planning and what ambivalence there is within that. Because she'd already come to you kind of like, I need to do this, I want to do this. So that really wasn't the issue with her, which is fine. So anyway, great job, full credit. I look forward to seeing your next video after you incorporate some feedback. All right, so if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to shoot me an email and I will address those. All right, take care.